Welcome to the revision session for Planet Earth, looking at environmental issues and the religious attitudes to how we should respond to these. Both the religions we've studied, Islam and Christianity, believe that the world is a precious gift from either God or Allah. That means that Allah or God created this planet, That's within 6 days. They've both got creation stories involving the world being made in 6 days. If we damage the planet, we are damaging their creation. This is a very important point. Christianity believes that God made the earth as an expression of his love. As his children, humans have the responsibility to care for this gift and be thankful for it. This is the idea of stewardship. In Islam, they believe the universe was created by Allah and belongs to him. Allah's unity with the world is reflected in nature. People must care for the world for future generations. There's a responsibility attached to living here. Stewardship is one of the massive key words for this whole topic. It's the idea that humans have a special responsibility to look after the world that either God or Allah created. Christians used to think they had dominion over the earth. That means they were in charge of everything and they could use it however they liked. They now try not to exploit the planet as they've realised that it is actually fragile. Muslims believe that damaging Allah's creation is an insult to their God. The big difference here is like owning a cat. If you got given a cat, it would be your cat. If it died, it's your problem. That's Christianity. With Muslims, you're looking after someone else's cat, Allah's to be precise. So killing it would be killing someone else's cat. The exam also concentrates on what impact modern lifestyles have. Back in the Dark Ages, didn't have a lot of these problems, but now we have things like the greenhouse effect and global warming. We have emissions from cars and factories. That means all the nasty chemicals we're pumping into the atmosphere. We also have household waste, all the junk that's coming out of your house. It gets put in landfills, some of it gets incinerated, but some of it can be recycled. And also industrial waste, which includes all sorts of nasty chemicals, as well as your normal waste you would expect. Now, one thing that can help this is recycling. It reduces the impact for a couple of reasons: saving energy, protecting natural habitats, and reduces landfill. And if things aren't rotting in the ground in landfill, that reduces the amount of methane, which causes less problem for the greenhouse effect and global warming. Some examples of types of pollution are acid rain. That's when chemicals get actually involved in the process of rain going into the air. When it evaporates, it then comes down from the clouds as chemicals in the water. That lands on both crops and people. Causes a lot of damage. Oil spills, like you'll see on the news, such as tankers splitting or oil rigs being damaged and obviously spilling into the water supplies. Toxic chemicals coming out of factories, or pesticides that are being put on crops to kill bugs which eat the crops, but unfortunately those chemicals can also kill other animals. Religions say that the pollution harms the planet, it harms people. So it's against stewardship because it harms the planet, and because it harms people, it's against the sanctity of life, the idea that life is sacred or holy. As mentioned in the idea of pollution, one of the things that this does is destroy habitats. This means it gets rid of the places where animals live. This is sad. Deforestation is one of the biggest problems. That means cutting down trees. This is done for farming, cattle, crops to sell, furniture, building and firewood. But if we cut down the places where these animals live, they can't live there. It means that they can't hunt their natural prey. It means that there's no food, nowhere to live, therefore they die. The problems of this is it contributes to climate change. It causes drier climates and it can cause flooding and landslides by impacting on the structural makeup of the local area. This topic also looks at the idea of natural resources. There's fossil fuels. These will run out. They're non-renewable. Things like coal and gas and oil. There's metals. Industry uses huge amounts of this and they can't be replaced. Renewable sources, however, would be things like wind, wave and solar power. You'll hear a lot of adverts on the television now telling you about these. These basically don't cost anything to the environment, but they are currently expensive sources of power. Nuclear power, it's cleaner than fossil fuels, but it does have its risks. Climate change is the idea that the world is getting warmer. This leads to floods, droughts and famine. Some also believe it's linked to extreme weather and the melting ice caps. The melting ice caps actually affects the flow of the currents of water around our island in Britain, which means that as the world is getting warmer on average, we could get colder because of the ice flows coming across to our country. Global warming could make us cold. The idea about religion here is the idea of loving your neighbour, so the damage you're doing will actually affect other people. The idea of stewardship, protecting the planet, and because it's other people, the idea of the sanctity of life. All of these mean that we should try and prevent this. Should we look after the world? Should religious believers look after the world? From the point of stewardship, which both Islam and Christianity believe in, they believe yes, and here are some ways they can do it. They could get involved in conservation. That's the idea of protecting the environment and animals. You could be involved in the Earth Summits that have been held by national representatives and religious leaders to try and work together to solve some of our major environmental problems. Targets have been set by governments to reduce carbon emissions and also by making sustainable development. That means building stuff which causes less damage to the environment, such as new homes which are more energy efficient or have things like solar panels, so it relies less on the natural resources of the world. So, the big thing, what do the religions say about all of these issues? Whether it's the idea of deforestation or pollution, Christians believe that just because we've been put in charge, we shouldn't spoil, abuse or destroy what God's made. So, the idea of stewardship. Pretty much all of the reasons they should look after the planet centre around this idea. In Islam, you've got that extra idea that Allah will hold people accountable for their actions when they die, because it is His world that they're living on. You destroy the planet, you answer to Him.